Sometimes we're lucky enough to observe God's miracles, and then sometimes we're invited by God to become a miracle ourselves. Let me share a story that was told by a survivor of Auschwitz who was 11 years old when he was taken to the camps. Today, he's in his late 70s and lives in the States. Here's the story in his own words. I will never forget the last Hanukkah in the barracks. Most of us were so consumed with surviving that we had no inkling which day in the year it was. Especially in those last weeks before liberation, the Nazis were particularly unpredictable and cruel, and the chaos only made matters worse. Yet there were a few of us who always knew the exact dates. They would tell the rest of us that today is Shabbos, Pesach, and other significant days on the Jewish calendar. On this particular day, a man would tell me that it was Hanukkah. That morning, I went to the infirmary to try smuggling out some balm, anything to help relieve my father's open sores. The disease was ravishing his body away, and whenever I could sneak over to him, I would see him silently struggling for some relief. As a child, I was completely overcome by the sight of my suffering father. That particular day, when I finally snuck over to my father's bunk, he was no longer there. I became frantic. I was petrified. An older gentleman, whom I didn't know, but I had often seen talking to my father, he came over to me to console me. He too didn't know when or where my father was taken, and to this day, I don't know if it was the disease or a Nazi bullet that took my father to heaven, but his was a calming presence. And he told me that today was Hanukkah, and that we celebrate the victory of the weak over the many and the powerful. We light the candles to demonstrate that our light is stronger than any darkness. Your father, this gentleman told me, would be proud to know that you carry on his light despite the bleakness and the blackness around you. I was so moved by his words and all the memories that it brought back from my earlier years living in Lodz, that I suggested to him enthusiastically that we should light the menorah tonight. He sort of smiled at me, a child, young, naive, a smile hardly concealing his deep anguish, and he said that it would be way too dangerous to try. I insisted and made off to get some machine oil from the factory. I was so excited, and for this brief moment, I was able to put aside my terrible grief. I slowly made my way back to the barrack with my treasured bit of oil. Meanwhile, the strange gentleman had put together some wicks, apparently torn from clothing or some other material. Now we needed fire to light our makeshift menorah. I noticed at the end of one building smoldering cinders. We agreed that we would wait till dark, and at an opportune moment, we would light our Hanukkah lights. Wait we did, and as we were walking over to the cinders, a guard noticed us and grabbed away the oil and the wicks that we were concealing. He began cursing at us and frothing at the mouth. A miracle seemed to happen when his superior barked a command that apparently needed his participation, and he ran off with our precious fuel. The miracle, however, was short-lived. The cruel guard yelled back at us that he would soon return to, quote, take care of us. I was terrified. The gentleman was absolutely serene. And then he said to me words that are etched into my mind to this very day. We did everything in our power to kindle actual flames, and every effort is recognized by God. But tonight we lit a flame more powerful than the Hanukkah lights themselves. You see, the miracle of Hanukkah consisted of finding one cruse of oil, which miraculously burned for 8 days. But tonight, however, we performed an even greater miracle. We lit the menorah without any oil at all. Tonight we kindled the 9th invisible candle, the powerful, indestructible light of our soul, which no force in the world and in history can ever extinguish. The man then promised me, you will get out of here alive, and when you do, take this 9th invisible flame with you. Tell God that we lit a candle that doesn't burn with oil but with faith, and tell the world of the light that can emerge even from the darkest of nights. We were wretched creatures, treated even worse than animals. We had no physical oil and no spiritual fuel. Yet in some miraculous way, we found a crucible where none existed in the hell fires of Auschwitz. Let the world know that we never give up and that our ninth flame is alive and burning bright. Tell every person in despair that the flame of faith never goes out. As he finished these last words, the Nazi returned and viciously led him away behind one of the barracks. I made my escape. A few weeks later, the Russians arrived and we were liberated. And here I am today to tell you the story of the ninth flame. So friends, let me conclude where I began. Sometimes we're lucky enough to observe God's miracles, but sometimes we're invited by God to become a miracle ourselves. Happy Hanukkah.